Greetings YouTube, South Carolina Gun Network here with another video. This video is going to feature my Winchester Model 70 classic stainless boss model. Winchester Model 70s are incredibly popular, some of the most popular bolt action rifles on the market. I'd venture to say that it's in a class above the Remington 700, the Weatherby Vanguard, and the Savage 110s and the Savage Axis models. That's just my opinion. The Remington 700 is a solid rifle. I just don't think it has the features that this particular model of Winchester 70 does. There's some Winchester Model 70s that the Remington 700 would compare to, but this rifle will run you around $600 to $700 stock, and that's without the optic, the bipod, and that's it. It came with the Boss harmonics system, which is why it's got the classic stainless Boss in the name, and it actually came with Leopold scope rings, which was a huge seller for me on the buy of this rifle. I had to have a solid set of scope rings to put a solid scope on, because to me, on a long distance rifle or hunting rifle, the optic, keeping it zero and being durable enough to withstand some of the felt recoil of a more powerful gun, the optic to me is extra important. The rifle itself comes in a black synthetic stock. You can get it in a wood stock, which I prefer, but this particular model came with a synthetic stock, and it was the only thing that I didn't like about it, so I gave in and got it just because I was looking for a stainless model, which stainless steel barrel, 24 incher. It's incredibly accurate. Again, with the Boss harmonic system, which I'll explain more about later. The chamber, as you see, is empty, and it's a top loader, so there's no rounds in the magazine. It does have a floor plate ejection button down here where the floor plate will come out and you can clean or oil your springs or whatever. The bolt is beautifully jeweled. It looks like it would have texture, or it looks kind of like fish scales. Actually, it's very shiny and very elegant looking, but it is butter smooth. The action on this gun is stone cold reliable. I've had it for 3 years and put well over 5,000, 10,000 rounds through it, and it's just hasn't failed me once, and the action is just butter smooth. You're not going to find a smoother action, I don't think, on any rifle. I don't care how much you pay for it. I mean, if I had this rifle rechambered for 30-06, which I've thought about, but which is chambered in 270 Winchester. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it is chambered in 270 Winchester. I've thought about getting it rechambered to 30-06. I would keep this action just because it's been one of my favorite bolt action rifle actions that I've ever used. It's butter smooth, it's reliable, and it looks good. So I can't ask for much more than that. On this particular model 70, you've got 3 safety settings. Right now it's on fire. On the second setting, it'll allow you to still charge the bolt and bring it down, but the trigger will not. You cannot pull the trigger. The trigger is disengaged. On the third setting, it'll block the bolt completely, so you can't even move it. Anyway, There's also an indicator to let you know that the gun is cocked, and if you pull the trigger, it's going to go off. So that's a good safety feature. Black synthetic stock, as I said. I added a bipod with retractable legs. The harmonics system, it comes with the Boss harmonic system and the new Winchester MOA trigger. The Boss harmonic system is basically it's made by Browning, and it's a muzzle brake that controls harmonic vibration for consistent shot placement. Pretty much, it gives you about a half reduction in felt recoil, and it improves your accuracy by limiting vibration in the gun. It lets you fine-tune the accuracy of your rifle by rotating the brake through the index stops or numbered stops. There's vertical numbers, small numbers on the muzzle brake as you move it up. And once you once you've found the point of harmonic balance that produces like optimum accuracy for you or the best feel, just tighten it with the bottom bolt, and your setting, it will stay and it will fire beautifully, and it is a great muzzle brake. One of the best ones I've used. It does everything it says it does. It reduces the recoil by half, and it does an incredible job of reducing the vibration and harmonics of the weapon, and allowing you to get faster, quicker, and more accurate follow-up shots. So great tool. The MOA trigger on that Winchester features is wonderful. It is smooth, it's crisp, it's like, again, you're pulling a glass rod and it just snaps. You barely have to apply any weight to it, and it'll go off. There's zero take-up distance. Basically, take-up is the distance that the trigger piece travels prior to the seer moving toward release and the shooter feeling resistance. The MOA trigger system has no take-up because the take-up spring keeps the trigger piece in constant contact with the actuator. There's a diagram online that'll show you this. Unlike competitors' designs, the unique geometry of the MOA preloads the entire trigger system to bias out normal manufacturing tolerances. So if there's something wrong, like with the rifle itself, it will, or with the trigger itself, it will basically fix it. Preloads the unique geometry of it. It preloads the entire trigger system, so it biases out normal manufacturing, like miscues. It has zero creep. Creep is the perceptible movement of the trigger prior to the release of the firing pin or striker. It's what you think or it's what you're feeling like when you're pulling the trigger back, and you just keep pulling it back and you expect it to fire, but it keeps coming back. Basically eliminates that, and has a negative influence on accuracy, but because it causes inconsistency and uncertainty during the pull of the trigger, because you don't know when the trigger is going to go off. Basically, when you have a trigger that creeps, it contributes to the person jerking the trigger, and that adds to the movement of the gun during firing, which is not good. The 2-to-1 mechanical advantage created by the trigger's design, or the trigger design's unique geometry, is how creep has been virtually eliminated in the Model 70 MO8 trigger. So it has also 0 over travel. Over travel is basically the rearward movement of the trigger after the firing pin has been released or has been struck. It can actually jar the gun away from its intended point of aim and give you incredibly low accuracy. The Model 70 MOA trigger is set at the factory to have no perceptible over travel at all. Where you aim is where you shoot, pretty much, with this gun. And I can attest to that, especially with the good optic. One thing I did not go over, which I wanted to talk about, was the Winchester's infamous claw mechanism that it uses in the bolt. The claw, which is basically just a kind of like a just over hook right here. You can see it, silver, and it hooks into the bolt. It controls the cartridge by grabbing it from the tail end and controls it from chambering to ejection. So so basically you reduce the number of malfunctions with that tool. With the attachment, it stays attached to the cartridge the entire time, so it chambers, it's fired, the shell is still attached to the claw, and the claw is brought back, and the shell is ejected back into the right. This has been a video on the Winchester Model 70 classic stainless boss. I haven't really been able to find information on this specific model on the internet. If anybody has any information on it, let me know. I know it's a Model 70 stainless, but on the stamp it has the classic stainless boss, all 3 words. So I haven't even on Winchester's website, I haven't been able to locate this exact model. So anybody who knows anything more about the rifle, let me know. Any questions or concerns about what I have in this video, please leave a comment. This is the South Carolina Gun Network, signing out. Peace.